Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. The topic I'd like to discuss is that of cyberbullying and how it denies the human value of a life that God intended for us. We need to be more aware of what cyberbullying is and the dangers and effects that it has on another person. Cyberbullying destroys a person's self-esteem and their sense of self-worth. It goes against what Jesus commands of us, and that is that we are to love one another. How many of you remember when you were a kid being bullied or watching somebody be bullied? Getting shaken down for their lunch money or just treated meanly because of how they were dressed or the way they looked. Well, back in those days when it was just bullying and people were being physical or verbal with each other, you could walk away from that and it was gone until you came back into that setting with that same person. Generally, it was one person who liked to pick on everybody else, unfortunately. Unfortunately, cyberbullying is not that way. Cyberbullying is one in which it has long-lasting effects and you cannot escape it. It is brought on by our modern technology. It is done by spreading things over the airways, through our cell phones, our computers, networking sites, things like this. Why do I bring up this subject? Because it's becoming more and more prevalent. And more of us have, most of us anyway, have children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, some child or another in some form. And we need to be aware of how serious this is. In the last decade, cyberbullying has more than doubled. And it is an emotional destruction to teenagers. It affects our kids the most. I have a friend whose 15-year-old recently committed suicide because of cyberbullying. This is known as bullycide. She couldn't see through the veil of pain because she couldn't escape it. No matter where she went, it followed her. It is wrong. It is senseless and it is needless violence that we are allowing other children to put on other children. As a person who is a social network person, I do a lot of Facebook, I have the opportunity to see little slights. People don't think of them as cyberbullying, but they are. Where you say just a little derogatory thing about somebody. So-and-so was dressed this way, or this person looks like this. That is cyberbullying, whether it is minor or major, and it hurts somebody, and it's not okay. Bullying has taken on a new level, and it's gone viral. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what cyberbullying really is, how it affects the person, and the role that we can play in advocating the demise of cyberbullying. An article titled Cyberbullying tells us that cyberbullying is the sending or posting of harmful or cruel text using the internet, the chat rooms, or other digital communications. The American Academy of Pediatrics tells us it is deliberate false communication to embarrass or put out hostile information about another person. In short, it is nothing simple short of being an act of cruel abuse. This brings me to my next point. What is the effects that it has on it? Well, like I said earlier, it causes some people to commit suicide, but there's many other things that it does. 11% of our middle school children are victims or have fallen a victim of cyberbullying in their time. Most of these are girls. However, they do affect boys. But why is it more girls? Because girls tend to get a little petty, nitpicky. Well, the little things aren't that important. We need to teach our children to look at the big things. Amen. Most kids don't even tell their parents that they're victims of cyberbullying. What they do is they pull inside themselves until it's too late. They've lost themselves. They have no hope. We need to be aware of that. The American Academy of Pediatrics tells us it can also cause extreme cases of depression and affect the children's schoolwork. Since 1983, over 150 children have taken their lives, due in part to cyberbullying. Out of sight, it's not out of mind. It follows that person everywhere they go. They go to the mall, they see somebody over here going, oh, that was the person they were talking about over there. They get on their Facebook, they've got all kinds of messages coming at them. They go to school, and they got people snickering behind them. They can't escape it no matter what they do. This leads me to my final point. What can we as a society do to stop cyberbullying? Well, the first thing that we can do is stand up and educate our children the morals and values that God has instilled in us. We need to bring God back into our nation, because He's left a lot of these people, which is why people decide to be violent. God has instilled in us that we all can set up boundaries and communicate in cyberspace within these boundaries and do so in a loving manner. When we see somebody slighting another, we need to quit turning a blind eye and pretending like, hey, it doesn't affect us, so it's okay. Just because it doesn't affect you does not mean it doesn't affect somebody else. And we need to stand up for that. We also need to watch out for signs from our children that they are being cyberbullied. Again, this can be them pulling back, not wanting to use electronic devices, not wanting to be around their friends. Now, there can be many reasons for a child to do this. But no matter what the reason is, it is up to us parents to investigate and to find out why our children are hurting and to stop that pain. In conclusion, we see that bullying has taken on a new level in the cyber world and how it can be detrimental to a person's health. We see that we need to teach our children how to be compassionate towards others and to show who Christ is. In short, what I ask of each of you is do not abuse cyberspace. If you have something negative that you want to say to somebody because you need to get it off your chest and you're having an issue with somebody, take it off of the internet and the airwaves. Go and talk to that person, as the Bible says. Confront that person one-on-one and work it out amongst yourselves. We must not, again, continue to turn a blind eye to this senseless violence. Thank you very much for your attention.